dropping into a slight frown. His eyebrows shot up in surprise. I just stood there, waiting for his next move. Well then, we have to do this the hard way. He smiled wickedly and started stomping towards us. He attempted to push me away, but I stood my ground. Bitch, get out here! My father yelled at Betty, who was behind me still, his face going red. Yes, Alpha, Betty replied monotonously, stepping around me and facing my father. She stood there like an innocent person who was put in jail. Her body was glued to the ground, while she desperately tried to wriggle out of my father's orders. Fear, hurt, confusion, and all other emotions passed her face. She closed her eyes as a tear spilled out. Just before my father was about to slap her, I grabbed his hand and punched him in the face, knocking him out in the process. I stared at my hand in shock and my father's now slumped body on the ground. Did I just do that? I couldn't have punched the Alpha. My own father. Grabbing my hair in frustration, I yelled at Betty. Jay, get out of here and stay with Nell and Perry for tonight. Don't come back till I say so. He'll be up soon and I don't want you to be here. I started to shake, scared and lost. I was in total deep shit. This could not be good. I pleaded to my mother for forgiveness, knowing she was up there, staring at me with a look of disapproval. I kneeled down next to my father's body. I'm so sorry, Mom, I whispered, my voice cracking. Betty's arms went around me in a comforting hug. Harrison. Thank you, she cried, and she looked into my eyes. Mom would be proud of you. I just sat there, not responding to anything. I didn't believe what she said. How could my mom be proud when I hurt her husband? My father? Betty hugged me tighter before leaving. I sat there for God knows how long, and finally shook my head. I had to get out of here. I had to see her. She's my only escape. Jesse's POV. Harrison's hands came down from the wall and rested on my waist. He pinned me further into the cold barrier, pressing his muscular body against mine. It was as if he couldn't get enough. Hell, I couldn't get enough either. A low growl escaped the back of his throat as his lips moved softly against mine. Damn, that was sexy. My arms snaked around his neck. My hands moved on their own accord, playfully tugging his soft hair and running through it. To my surprise, my eyes even fluttered shut. I felt his teeth nibble on my bottom lip, and I moaned into his mouth. I would have fallen to the ground if it weren't for him holding me up. He was making my knees go weak. His tongue stroked my bottom lip, asking for entrance. However, I didn't like to play easy. So, I took his bottom lip in between my teeth and pulled lightly. This caused him to moan and growl at the same time. Damn, it wasn't just sexy. It was sexy as hell. He pushed himself into me harder, and I could feel little Harrison getting excited. That caused me to turn as red as a tomato. I couldn't say I wasn't turned on as well. That would be a lie. Once more, his tongue stroked my bottom lip, and this time, I gave him entrance. He pushed his tongue into my mouth, stroking my own. Crap, he tasted so good. A loud moan escaped my mouth as I tugged his hair in pleasure. This kiss was aggressive, but kind. His lips were rough, but caressing. It spoke that he's been waiting for this moment forever, but he wants to let me know he could wait. It was filled with emotions. Thankfulness, adoration, fear, and so much more. I've never had a kiss so moving in my life. Because of that, I never wanted this moment to end. The way his tongue swept across mine caused my taste buds to explode with excitement. The way his strong arms wrapped around my waist told me he would protect me whenever. The way his thumbs stroked circles on my lower back made me know he would comfort me and be kind with me. Just him general made me dizzy. He made me high off his scent, drool off his looks, love his vulnerability, and the way he was around me always gave me something interesting to look forward to every day. He was different. Harrison pulled out of the kiss, allowing both of us to breath. I was panting so hard, and so was he. He rested his forehead against mine and looked straight into my eyes. I was again shocked by the darkening of his pupils and the way it grew bigger before going back to his normal, beautiful, crystal blue eyes again. His calloused hand came up to my face and stroked my cheek. His lips stretched into a kind smile as a dimple appeared on his cheek. I was pretty sure I was smiling like crazy too. He pressed his lips to mine once more for a few seconds and said, "You?" Then the window Harrison was throwing rocks at a few hours ago shattered, interrupting whatever Harrison was going to say. The glass shattered into a tiny million pieces as Harrison tried to shelter my whole body with his. I let out a piercing scream. "What the hell?" Harrison muttered when we finally calmed down. He let go of me and turned around. I let my eyes wander at the tiny glass pieces on my carpet that was sparkling under the moonlight. But that's not what caught my eye. Harrison carefully walked around the shards, trying not to get his feet cut in the process. He picked up the huge rock that was now on the floor, the main cause of the window breaking. All over the rock were words written in red ink. My eyes widened, recognizing the fine print. I stood rooted to the ground as Harrison looked at me for approval to go on. My mouth felt like there were a million cotton balls in it, and my throat was unexpectedly very dry. So instead, I nodded, feeling hot even when the cold air from outside was blowing across my skin. Harrison eyed me cautiously before reading the words on the rock. "I thought you wouldn't be scared even if your window breaks, love. Love, the darkness angel." Never in my life have I felt so scared. I was so scared to death that I ended up shaking from it all. My palms sweating as I felt an uncomfortable heat spread through my body. I could literally feel my head spinning as my vision became blurred, black dots obscuring my sight. My ears were ringing with shock and exhaustion. My breaths came out in pants, and I looked at Harrison one last time, who was currently observing the window, the rock, and the woods. I saw his nose come up close to the rock, sniffing it as his eyes turned a golden color. I was so overwhelmed from it that I let darkness sweep me off my feet. "Els!" I heard Harrison's voice echo before I fell to the ground in a heap. "Oh, my baby." I heard a feminine voice sob before I felt a peck on my forehead that was all too familiar. My eyes fluttered open, my mom finally coming into view. She was seated on the couch beside me, hovering over me in an overprotective stance. Her red lips were pulled into a smile, but it was tight as she was trying her best to be strong in front of me. However, I knew it was all an act as I felt her small, petite hands shaking in fear as she moved to push a strand of hair away from my face. Even her eyes, which were swollen and lined with red from the tears that had stained her cheeks, were another confirmation of her worry. She tried desperately to fix her messed up hair because, like I said, she wanted to put the strong parent act up for me. But I was tired of her being strong for me. It's all she's ever done when she didn't even want it in the first place. Everyone knows when you're hurt, worried, or whatever seems to bring you down. All you want to do is scream it out. You want it to let it flow from you physically, even if the pain was just emotional and mental. I tried to stand up, but this amazing wave of dizziness hit me to the head, and I slightly wobbled, almost falling off the couch. I felt arms grip me and motioned for me to lie down again. "No way, Missy, are you getting up just yet?" my mom muttered. "How are you doing, my baby?" My mom blurted out in a rush, her voice coming out in a high pitch. "Oh, let me go tell Kara that you're ready for your soup. That's if you're ready." "They're ready?" "I mean, we could wait." "Oh, never mind, I'll go get it." As she got up, I gripped her arm, not ready for her leave. The trace of Chanel perfume was comforting me at the moment. She smiled softly at me before she sat back down and looked at something to her right. Scott and James, correct?" she said politely. I followed her gaze, and sure enough, there, sat on the love seat with Scott, James, and Harrison, who were squished up together as they tried to be generous and respectful to my mother. I knew why they were here, but my mom didn't know. So imagine my horror when I saw Scott and James shirtless. I knew for sure that this did not look good to my mother. My eyes widened and it felt like it was going to bulge out of its eye sockets. Afterwards, my mouth fell open on its own accord. It was partly because I was surprised that they were all caught by mother. The other part was me, being the total teenage girl I am, decided to check them out. And damn, speechless was an understatement. However, I couldn't help compare them to Harrison. I quickly shut my mouth and watched the awkward situation unfold before me. "Yes, that is correct, ma'am," Scott answered politely, giving me a small smile in an effort to comfort me. "Oh, please call me Angela," my mom said with a wave of her hand while she showed off her pearly whites. This action caused my eyes to widen again. "May I ask you to a favor?" "Anything," James said while getting up and standing awkwardly, crossing his arms above his chest. Please help Miss Kara with the soup, and if you guys want, she added a wave of her hand, motioning to all the boys. You may eat as well. Kara's chicken and corn soup is amazing. Thank you, Angela, Scott and James said with a nod of their heads in appreciation. I watched their retreating backs before I turned to my mom with the best look of apology I could muster. Mom, I could explain, I started lamely, looking everywhere but her eyes before I stuttered. These B-boys were, helping me study. A long moment of silence stretched before I looked at my mother. Her eyebrow was raised and she would have laughed, but she didn't want to embarrass me. Jessie, don't worry, hun. I knew why they were truly here, my mom said before giving me a lazy smile. What exactly did they tell you? I said, narrowing my eyes. Nothing you have to worry about. Okay, I said it more as a question. Don't worry about it, hun. I'm just grateful they were here, she said, glancing at Harrison. That's when I actually studied the glorious boy who swept me off my feet. His hair was messed up big time. His crystal blue eyes were glazed with uncertainty, and it didn't take me long to notice the golden specks forming, his pupils dilating. He was deep in thought, staring at the far wall behind me as he leaned his chin in his fists, which were propelled on his knees. He looked like a statue, so emotionless and motionless that it scared me. I was scared that if anything dared to make a move on him, he wouldn't hesitate to beat the heck out of it. What I want to know, my mom said, breaking the silence, is why he looks more scared than you do? Why he seemed so overprotective of you? Even when I tried coming near, he kept you all to himself. Why? I immediately flushed, trying to hide my face in the couch cushion. I heard my mother's soft chuckle, and she took the cushion that was over my face away from me. She smiled at me in a warm way, in a way a mother does to her child. Ma, there's nothing going on between us. I covered up lamely. She snorted. My mother actually snorted, and not only that, but she rolled her eyes at me. Come on. Even a blind man could see there is something clearly going on. He wouldn't be this way if there was nothing, she pointed out. We're just really good friends. It's okay, honey, to fall in love, she said quietly before holding my hand. Just because your dad and I didn't succeed in love doesn't mean it won't work out for other people. I mean, look at Graham and Gramps. They've been married for 45 years. She smiled softly at the memory before her eyes were glassy and distant. I'm sorry, Jessie. About what? I said, barely over a whisper. For letting you and Andrew down, she sighed. For letting you believe those silly things that love isn't worth it because it is. It truly is a work of art. I mean, look where your father's and my wedding led up to. My unconditional love for both my kids. I know I let you guys down sometimes and I'm not always there, and trust me when I say that I regret it with all my heart, soul, and mind. Mom, please, don't. My voice wavered as I felt a tear roll down my cheek. Don't blame yourself. If anything, you're the best I could ever ask for. I felt her wipe away my tear with the back of my hand as she smiled at me. Honey, I want you to be happy. This boy, she started, nodding her head towards Harrison and continued, is everything I wish my daughter could ever be with. Is it because he was there? No, honey. It's because I could clearly see he makes you happy, she interrupted. I glanced at Harrison again, feeling a tiny smile creep its way onto my lips. I just wished he would snap out of that daze and look at me, and I wanted him to sweep me off my feet with that amazing smile of his. The warmth of his lips on mine was my current craving, and the warmth of him near was what I was aching for. How long has he been like that? I asked curiously, turning back to my mother who was observing me. Oh, about 3 hours, she shrugged. 3 hours, I said in disbelief, my eyes wandering over to him again. What time is it? Yeah, right after you fainted and the cops came over to inspect that window. It is about midnight by now. At the mention of my window, I shuddered. I looked at my mom with fear clear in my eyes. She patted my leg, telling me that everything is going to be all right. However, I knew it wasn't. Things were getting worse. I wondered if my mom knew about my previous encounters with this mysterious darkness angel. Mom, I watched as her gaze turned to me slowly. Do you know? Hey guys, I heard someone shout through the house, the deep voice echoing off the walls. We are finally home. As if on cue, Aunt Kara came in with Scott and James following closely behind her. Aunt Kara had her hands in kitchen gloves, holding a pot of soup. Scott held a couple of glass bowls and spoons in his other hand. James held a pitcher filled with what looked like iced tea, and in his other hand, he held paper cups. I smiled as Aunt Kara instructed the boys on what to do. She then turned to me. Her face glowed and her smile widened. "Oh dear," she said, patting her gray hair down. "How are you feeling? I made you some of my famous chicken and corn soup, knowing y'all love that when the rain in coming down on your sunny day. And of course, Andrew chooses to come in at that precise moment. Me laying in the couch with Mom close to me, Harrison in a complete haze, Aunt Kara bringing me chicken and corn soup that she always made on our bad days, and the two shirtless boys tending to Aunt Kara's orders." He stuck his head through the corridor, mouth agape before fully coming in. His thick eyebrows scrunched together as he saw the scene in front of him. Am I missing something? Hey guys, so we need to... Okay, wow. Now I'm confused. Amanda came in, standing next to Andrew. His arm went around her shoulders as her own eyebrows scrunched up too. "We'll explain later," my mom said, chuckling. "So, how was your movie?" "Well, it was good. You know, us men enjoyed chick flicks so much," Andrew said sarcastically. "Especially since the whole reason you watched the movie was because you wanted to impress your girl." Then she says that she had a huge stomachache and took almost about an hour in that bathroom, he said, nudging Amanda's arm. She nudged him in the ribs, and amusingly, I watched him flinch from the impact. "Babe, you weren't supposed to tell anyone about my private time," she hissed, smiling playfully at him. "I just wanted to share my story that my girl takes longer than me in the bathroom." He smiled cheekily at her. "Oh, just shut your pie holes, you two," Aunt Kara said, placing her small hands on her hips. "Before ya make these two handsome fellows throw up what they're eating from y'all smothering." Along with everyone, I laughed as I watched the two lovebirds blush. However, my laugh increased when to the point I was snorting when I heard the moans of appreciations as James and Scott dug their faces into their steaming bowl of soup. Soon, everyone was licking their bowl clean, wanting more and more. Everyone around me felt so safe, and I actually felt like I was in a family for once. A full and happy family, though some people, like the rest of the Stone and Crescent pack, were missing. I sat up, taking my bowl of soup and drinking it. The hot soup warmed my throat, and the tastes hit my taste buds like fireworks. It warmed my whole insides, hitting my stomach with a sense of that homey feeling. But it wasn't as hot as I was feeling when Harrison decided to sit beside me, taking me in his arms and kissing my cheek. I choked on my soup and regained composure, setting the bowl down on the coffee table in front of us. "Dot," I hissed, but that did nothing but make him pull me closer. I was pretty sure my face was as red as Aunt Kara's toenail polish. "Harrison," I whispered more loudly this time. His scent was driving me crazy, and his warmth was enough to make me weak in the knees. Good thing I was sitting on this couch, or else I might have fell again tonight, and nobody would like to see that again. I felt his muscled chest warming my back through our thin t-shirts. I felt his hot breath fanning my hair, and his strong arms around my waist made me feel that sense of safety that I needed right now. "Just relax, Els," he whispered in my ear, kissing my earlobe. "Just let me hold you." "Yeah, Jesse," James said with a mouthful. "We already know you two are sort of a thing." "Mm-hmm," Scott mumbled from his bowl. "What? What is going on?" "Again, I'm lost," Andrew said, eyeing Harrison and I with narrowed eyes, obviously trying to play the big brother role. If possible, my face went a deeper shade of red. "Oh, quit the act, Andrew John," my mom scolded. "You wanted someone for your sister anyways. You said something about her being a prude and she's only 18. "Mom, see now she's giving me the death glare," Andrew whined, pointing to me. "If any one of us good-looking people is a prude, it's me who y'all should point fingers to," Aunt Kara said, sipping her soup and ignoring our burst of laughter and snorts. "Please, Aunt Fells, Uncle Sawyer loves you," I said, gasping and enjoying the chest that was moving up and down in laughter behind me. After all of us were so full, we'd thought we were going to burst. We finally closed up for the night. We all helped Aunt Kara clean up the mess, much to her constant protest. Andrew and Amanda left up the stairs while I told Scott and James to go home. When I walked out of the bathroom, I was surprised to see my mother and Harrison talking in near the front door hushed voice. Getting closer, I heard my mother say, "This was what I was afraid of." She can't know yet. I kept my footsteps light, not wanting for them to hear me. I hid behind the wall, my heart thumping in my chest at the thought of being caught. Pressing my back against the maroon wall, I peered at the two. I had a perfect view of them, but luckily, I was completely hidden from them. "I understand, Angela," Harrison said tiredly, rubbing a hand down his face. "You will tell her soon, correct?" "Yes, Harrison," my mom replied in a reassuring tone, throwing up her hands. But for now, I heard Aunt Kara's small footsteps come down the stairs. Fearing that I might get caught for eavesdropping by everyone, I quickly stepped into the hall my mother and Harrison were at. They completely did a 360. Mom threw her hand down, smiling at me all too innocently. She tucked a strand of her dark hair behind her ear before shifting her weight uncomfortably. Harrison quickly straightened his posture, smiling down at me as well. "So," I said awkwardly, "what were you guys talking about?" "About how you should stay with Harrison tonight," my mom quickly lied. Hearing her horrible lie, my eyebrow popped up in accusation. Even Harrison was clearly surprised. His mouth flew open while both of his eyebrows scrunched up together. "Just to make my contradictions on my mother lying true," Harrison added. "We were?" My mother quickly glared and narrowed her eyes at him before smiling sweetly at me. "Oh," Harrison coughed. "Yes. Yes, we were. Yes. She will. I can't have her sleeping in house with no security. I would bother Andrew, but he is with his own wife. I have a strong certainty you will take care of my daughter," she said. "What?" I half yelled. "Mom, you're seriously making me sleep over with a boy?" She straightened up, tilting her chin up. I could see the indecision playing in her eyes. "Yes, honey. I trust you and I trust Harrison." While I stood there and gaped like a fish, Mom pushed us out of the house before she could change her mind. Even Harrison was clearly surprised, his constant blinking making it obvious. As she shut the door, I heard her yell, "Please, take care of her, and I don't mean in bed. Oh gosh, save me now." "So, we're here," Harrison said, scratching the back of his neck and looking at the spot between my eyes. "Is this boy being serious?" The whole ride here, his hands were clutching the steering wheel, making his knuckles turn white. He hardly said a word to me for the whole 10-minute drive to the pack house, and it was killing me. In fact, I think the only thing he said to me was, "I hope you don't mind staying at the pack house." Betty's the only one there. We had to get out of our Heish house due to, the situation with our dad. More like, stuttered. My response was just a sigh and another eye roll. I walked towards the wooden door of the yellow pack house, Harrison following a few feet behind. I yawned, and my eyes were beginning to droop in exhaustion. It was probably already 2 in the morning, and I was afraid we might wake up a sleeping Betty. Therefore, I just walked in without knocking. I know, call me rude, but waking up Betty was the last thing I wanted to do, especially since what she had went through tonight. Harrison seemed to have read my mind. Wait, I forgot, he could read my mind. Because he quietly shut the door, the little click ringing through the silence. Afterwards, he turned on a nearby lamp so human eyes, specifically mine, could see. Right when Harrison was about to say something to me, his mouth opening and closing a few times, Betty strutted in with her head in a book. Her black hair clipped back messily, and her pajamas a bright pink. "Hey, finally, you're home." Her nose twitched, obviously tracing my scent. She looked up and shut her book, running towards me and engulfing me in a big hug. My breath was knocked off from me as Betty ranted. "Holy crap, Dee, are you all right?" she asked, moving back from me a little, inspecting my arms and legs. I heard what happened. Pack stuff. Ugh, I should have came the moment I heard the news, but I didn't want to cause so much more burden. I'm so. Whoa, Betty, I yelled over her rant, gripping both of her wrists in mine. "Relax. I'm fine." She blew out a sigh before hugging me again. "I'm just worried about you. Anyways, why are you here? Not that I don't want you here or anything, because I do. I just thought your mom would have wanted you home." Her thin eyebrows scrunched up, leaving a crease in between them. She looked over to Harrison curiously before scratching her face. I watched silently as they just looked at each other, both of their faces changing expressions every few seconds. It didn't take me long to realize they were having a conversation by the pack link. I crossed my arms over my chest, not liking the fact that I was out of the loop once again. Okay, Betty sighed, clapping her hand once. I straightened my posture as her blue eyes grew big, and she gave me a smile that made me feel suspicious. You two have fun. I'm just going to go to bed now because, man, she said, stretching her arms and faking a yawn. Am I tired? Good night, brother, and I hope you enjoy your stay here. I will be in my room if you need me. She bounded up the stairs after giving me a brief hug. I eyed Harrison accusingly, which he just returned with a shrug. Okay, I'm pretty sure you're tired. So, follow me, Harrison said, breaking the awkward silence. I followed close behind him, noticing that his shoulders were tense. Opening the first door on the right revealed a room that screamed Harrison all over it. The walls were a grayish blue, and his neatly tucked king-size bed sat in the middle. The sheets were black, shining slightly from the light that was emitting from the white lampshade near his bed. Obviously, it was black silk, and for some reason, that sent butterflies to erupt in my belly. The carpet was white and shaggy, giving the room a cozy feeling. Even his couch was white. A black door that sat on the left wall was obviously his bathroom. His huge mahogany desk that sat underneath the window on the right wall was neat. Everything in this room was neat. I gaped like a fish, but quickly shut my mouth as I realized Harrison was watching my reaction. I cleared my throat before saying, "Nice room, Dot." "Thanks," he replied before going to a mahogany dresser and rummaging through it. He pulled out a gray t-shirt and some blue basketball shorts. "So, I hope you don't take this the wrong way. I know you're feeling icky in that shirt that you were sweating in all night, and those shorts are filled with little glass crystals. We both don't want you feeling, uncomfortable tonight." He handed the items to me, still not looking me straight in the eyes. I just sighed as I watched him go back to his dresser, pulling out shorts and a shirt for him. He then sat at his leather chair, still not looking at me. "Thanks," I sighed again and trudged to the bathroom, feeling irritation from the way he was acting. I quickly changed my clothes and groaned when the shorts kept slipping off. I decided regretfully that I had to ditch the shorts and just stick with the shirt. Luckily, the shirt reached mid-thigh and wasn't too short for my black lacy thong to peep through it. Then, I groaned again when I realized I wasn't wearing a bra. The tank top I was wearing earlier had a built-in bra, and if I were to wear it again, I'd smell like a dying pig. I mentally slapped my mom for not handing me extra clothes before shipping me off over here. Inhaling Harrison's amazing scent once more, I opened the bathroom door remorsefully. Yes, I was feeling sorry over poor old me. I mean, what girl wouldn't, right? Harrison's back was facing to me as he played with a pencil on his desk. I noticed he already changed into a similar gray shirt and black basketball shorts. Once he heard the door close again, he looked back at me. His smile fading as his eyes trailed down my body, his eyes lingering on my legs a bit longer. His Adam's apple moved up and down as he gulped and his eyes were dilating, becoming darker. He quickly shut his eyes and he shook his head, trying to clear any thoughts he had at the moment. I felt my face heat up, especially after I saw him in a failed attempt to cover his happy camper with a nearby pillow. Now, I really wanted to pinch my mom for letting me stay here. Shifting uncomfortably, I decided to throw the shorts at him, which he quickly caught. I said, "Sorry, the shorts were too big for me. It kept sliding off." He looked everywhere else but me, training his eyes on the bookshelf behind me. You want to borrow Betty's clothes instead?" "And no," I stuttered. Now, don't get the wrong idea. I wasn't a slut or anything. I just didn't want to be a burden to Betty. You know that feeling of being ashamed to stay at someone's house for your benefit? Yeah, I was definitely feeling that right now. The thought of borrowing someone's clothes were a pain to me. Even Harrison's shirt was enough to make me feel like I was a bother. "No, you're not a bother. Actually, you're welcomed anytime," Harrison said, moving to the bed to grab some pillows. He still was acting silly, not looking at me in the eye at all, this whole trip here. "So, you can sleep on the bed. I'll take the couch." "Harrison," I said, grabbing his arm when he was about to pass me. The familiar heat came back to me, pulsing at the places we made contact. He finally looked down at me with those beautiful blue eyes, and I smiled slightly. He smiled back, and I almost forgot what I was about to say. Seriously, if you're uncomfortable with my being here, I could go home or stay with Betty as much as I don't want to bother her. I began to move towards the door when I felt Harrison freeze under my hand. His eyes were distant, and his face was emotionless once again. Nearing the door, he half yelled, "No!" Then, his strong arms gripped my waist, turning me around and hugging me. He buried his face in my wavy hair, which was so not in a good shape right now. I squeaked when I felt his warmth seep through the thin cotton of our shirts. His chest touching my chest made the blood rush up my neck and cheeks because the thought of not wearing a bra hit me again. Please, don't leave. I can't bear the thought of you being out of my sight. I felt my arms wrap around him, my hands running up and down his back in comfort. Then why are you being like this? I whispered against his chest. Because I'm afraid I might hurt you, which I might lose control, especially seeing you in my shirt. Gosh, Els, you're so beautiful and you smell so freaking good, he complimented, inhaling my scent that made me go weak in the knees. That's why I'm scared. I don't trust myself. Hey, I said sternly, pushing him away slightly. His arms were still around my waist, where I wanted them to be at. My hands were holding his face, fingers brushing his cheeks, which held a slight pink tinge. Gosh, the look he was giving me was sending my heart in overdrive. I trust you, Harrison, I whispered, going up on my tiptoes and giving him a lingering peck. I looked into his blue eyes, that were now fluttering closed. It was filled with so much passion and adoration that it made the butterflies in my stomach much worse. My eyes fluttered closed, as well as I felt his warm lips meet mine again. That was all it took for my toes to curl and my lips to stretch into smile against his. He, too, smiled and grabbed my hand that rested on his shoulder, intertwining our fingers. His other hand wrapped around my waist, bringing us closer. I felt his heartbeat quicken with mine, and at this precise moment, I wanted nothing more than to be with this guy. I felt his tongue sweep across my lips, and as granted, I gave him entrance. We both moaned at the same time as our dance together. I giggled into his mouth while he chuckled into mine. This kiss was so sweet and passionate. It wasn't rushed, pushed, or rough. It was perfect in every way. It made me think he wanted this moment to last too, as he sucked my lips and kissed me silly. However, I was just a regular human being that eventually ran out of breath. Because Harrison noticed it, he pulled away, kissing the crescent-shaped mark he gave me that night he bit me. That was all it took for me to gasp and let out a breathy moan. He eventually continued to suck at that sweet part, making it darker for everyone to see. "You are mine," he murmured across my skin. He inhaled my scent deeply and kissed the mark he gave me. I shuddered as he lightly nipped it. "Jesse, you are mine and only mine, you understand?" Once he came back up and rested his forehead against mine, I smiled at him. The warm smile he gave me was enough to make my eyes sparkle in happiness. His eyes were dilating again as they were turning darker to a light gold and into his normal blue ones. I nodded against him and said, "Always, Dot." He laughed and pulled away reluctantly, still holding my hand. "Well, you better get some sleep, Els. I promised your mom I'd take care of you." He led me to his bed, pulling the covers from me as I laughed. I lay down on his soft bed and sighing as I felt the silk caress my skin. Only now, I realized that I was tired as I felt my eyes droop. "By the way, what were you really talking to my mom about?" I asked, my voice raspy from exhaustion. His eyebrow shot up before answering sternly, "Just staying here, like she said." The way he said it made me know not to ask any more questions. So, I just nodded and yawned. Harrison gave me a quick kiss on the forehead before saying, "Good night, Els." "Hey, where do you think you're going?" I asked irritably when I saw him heading to the couch. "To sleep," he said, dumbfounded. I rolled my eyes and patted the spot next to me. "Nope, you're asleep next to me." "But," he began, his eyes displaying indecision. "No buts. Just come over here," I said, crossing my arms and giving him the best puppy dog face I could muster. "Pee-wees?" He rolled his eyes before sighing and pulling the covers, getting in next to me. I watched as he scooted a bit closer and wrapped his arms around me. Fine, just for you, he said as I closed my eyes. Whatever, you know you wanted to, I said, popping one eye open. Oh, shut up and go to sleep, Els. I eyed his shirt and gave him a pointed look. Just get comfortable like always. Keep calm and take your shirt off. We all know most guys sleep without a shirt. It's like nature for them, I said in a matter-of-fact tone. You just want to see me shirtless, he smirked, waggling his eyebrows. Maybe, I shrugged. Just take off the damn shirt. He sat up, pulling the shirt over his head and throwing it on his couch. He gave me that, "Are you happy now?" look. I smirked and gave him a once-over, lingering my eyes on his six-packs. I nodded appreciatively before he snorted and said, "Perv." He lay back down again and I smacked his shoulder. Whatever. I tried to ignore the heat emitting from his body, especially being so close to him like this. I kept my arms to myself as he wrapped one around my waist. Trust me, I was afraid what I might do if I touched that delicious chest in his six-pack. I was scared, like him, that I might lose control. Maybe we should be even. Take off your shirt now, Harrison mocked, smirking at me. I rolled my eyes and ignored the red tinting my cheeks. Obviously, he had known I wasn't wearing a bra. Then, he said nothing but looked at me with concern. His eyes stared into my green ones. His face read it all. Fear, concern, doubt, etc. We stayed like that for a couple of minutes before I trailed a finger down his jawline in comfort. What are you thinking about? I whispered. Nothing, he lied. We both know that's a lie. What's really up? Well, he sighed and hugged me closer. Don't take this the wrong way, but I have a bad feeling about Amanda. My brother's wife? I asked, my eyebrows rising up. Yeah, I just think it was odd she has been gone to the bathroom for almost an hour, and we had that incident in your room. And since she arrived, you've been threatened. It's just too big of a coincidence. Harrison, I sighed, rubbing his cheek with my thumb. Amanda would never do that. We can't just assume things, okay? I know